Well, thanks very much. We're here with Mike Clayton. Mike, thanks for joining us. Professional golfer. You won 8 times as a professional, but you also had a wonderful, stellar amateur career, which we'll touch on soon. You're a keen commentator on the game through the media, but nowadays through social media. You've forged a wonderful career in course design. But of course, you've been a regular visitor to New Zealand over the years, and in particular, Paraparaumu Beach. So from our point of view, it's wonderful to be able to connect with you again, and we look forward to perhaps sharing some of those stories and memories that you had during those visits to our shores.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. It'd be nice to talk about one of my favourite courses, really. It's such a great place to play with. It's a long history. Thompson and Nagel and all those guys who, we used to read about them winning the New Zealand Open there when I was a kid. So it was great. It was great to go and play there for the first time, and then every time I went back, it was as much fun as it was that first time.
Yeah, look, Mike, I know, or anyone that knows you knows that you're infectiously passionate about the game of golf. Like I say, you're a commentator on it regularly through social media. But taking it right back to the beginning, where was that passion and that spark really lit in terms of golf?
I don't know. I started as a caddy, really, because I wanted some money. My mate and I, so we jumped the fence and went to Eastern on a Tuesday. And the assistant pro, who was barely older than me, so he was about 16, I was 12, said, "Wrong day, mate, ladies' day, come back tomorrow." So we came back on Wednesday, and a guy from Sydney hired me. I got $1 for the day. I loved it from then. And there were some clubs lying around the house, so the assistant pro sort of said, if you want to play, just jump the fence and stay out of the road of the members. And so I just started hanging around the pro shop and caddying, and got a regular 2 jobs on Saturdays for 2 old guys. And I just always loved being out there, and I enjoyed the game and enjoyed playing it. The course was literally over the back fence, so I could play every day. So, and I was interested in the history of it too. I read a lot about it. So it's just something that captured me early on, really. I don't know why, but it was something I really enjoyed. And there were good people there. The old guys were great. The kids were great that I played with. And you started playing schoolboy tournaments and met all your contemporaries who were all trying to do the same thing. So the game kind of grows on you like that, really.
At what stage did you take the game? Did you get formal with the game, like as in taking a membership up and perhaps playing in a club sense?
Well, you couldn't join until you were 14. So remember, the assistant pro, his dad was the greenkeeper. Mel Humphreys was the assistant. Merv was his dad. And Merv caught me out there one day sneaking on the course, and he said, "Just stay out of the road of the members. You'll be fine. You can join when you're 14." So that's how you grow the game. I was the 12-year-old kid who wasn't old enough to join, but it was the greenkeeper saying, "Just stay out of the road of the members. You'll be fine. I'll let you play. I'm not going to tell anybody." So I joined when I was 14. It was like maybe $12 a year or something.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a great place for kids. It was fantastic, really.
It's kind of interesting you talk about jumping the fence, because I've spoken to a couple of golfers in this series, and a number of them actually started by jumping over the fence and just getting a hang of it. And it's interesting because from time to time in my role, I'll get various members come in and get a little bit upset when they'll see a kid on the course and things like that. But it's amazing how simply jumping the fence has lit the passion in some of those young kids who have gone on to, obviously great careers in golf and a lifelong love with the game.
Yeah, the thing I love more, you don't see it anymore, but love to see kids jump fences and sneak on. That was getting into golf. That's how you got into it.
Yeah.
It was either that or go to a public course. So if you live near a golf course, then you could jump the fence. No one plays at 4:30 anymore or 5 o'clock. If you can jump the fence at 5 o'clock in the winter and play for half an hour, then, wow, they should be encouraging those kids.
So, Mike, at what stage? So you got into a club at 14. Was that Eastern Golf Club, or did you?
Yeah, it was Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. At what stage? You were progressing into the game. At what stage did you start to think, "Hey, I'm getting pretty good here"? What was your handicap, and what will you start getting down to?
My first handicap was 12, which was I thought that was a bit low for me. Thought I should have been on 15 or 16. But either way, because when you were a 12-year-old, you think, I thought the guys who I caddied for on 20 handicaps were pretty good.
Yeah.
So 12 was like, that was really good. But I'm not that good. But, if you play every day, as I did, you quickly get a lot better. So by the time I was 16, I was in the state junior team. So it took 2 years to get from joining a club to make the state team. So I guess that was pretty quick. But, Greg took up the game at, how was he, 15? He won a tournament at 21 on the tour. So,
yeah.
If you're any good and you work hard, you can get pretty good pretty quickly at golf.
So you were obviously getting good rather quickly, and you started entering into bigger events. Some of those your state amateur tournaments, and being a Victorian, it must have been a pretty special moment to win your state amateur tournament, the Vic Amateur, which I think you won twice.
I did. I won in 1977 the first time, which was when I was 20. That was, well, I thought it was a big deal, but you look back, that was almost a year after Seve had finished second in the British Open. And he was a month older than I was. So it wasn't that big a deal. But yeah, it was, mind you, Seve was pretty good. But it was a measure of progress. It was, of course, when I started caddying, Mike Carlin won it. He was winning it in the middle of winning it 3 years in a row, 71, 2 and 3. So again, when you're that age, anyone who's winning the state amateur is a bit of a guide around town. So, winning the Vic Amateur was a big deal at the time.
Was that kind of the era where, it was kind of on the cusp between amateur golf was still a very, and it is still as respected now, but it was seen as a respected profession, so to speak. Turning professional was perhaps going to the dark side. Was that, or was that a little bit earlier?
It wasn't a career in the strictest sense of the words, but there were lots of career amateurs like Tony Gresham and Phil Wood, Colin Kay, who were tremendous players who their career in golf, in competitive golf, was as amateurs. And it switched about then. I mean, the next year I won the Australian Amateur, 1978. So before me, I think Jim Ferrier, Ted Ball, Bob Shearer, Bruce Devlin, Terry Gale, Bill Britton had turned pro. So maybe less than 10 guys in 80 years or whatever it was had turned pro. I won in 78, and since then I think maybe one guy who won the amateur didn't turn pro. So in the next 40 years, everyone turned pro. So that was really when it changed. It was the late 80s, the late 70s when, we thought we were playing for decent amounts of money, whereas the generation before, Bob Shearer, when he won in the year 1969, you look back at they were playing for $25,000 in the Australian Open. My first Open in 81, we played for 150. We thought we were playing for fortunes.
Yeah.
So the game certainly changed around that time in terms of when you can make some half decent money out of it. You can at least expect to play full time and pay your way. Whereas before that, you couldn't really, unless you were Peter Thompson or Nagel or someone who was properly good.
So in that Australian Amateur, was it Royal Queensland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who were some of the names that you had to perhaps go through on the way to that victory? Was there any notable names that have gone on to?
Well, I didn't have to go through anybody because I remember being on the practice tee. I only just qualified. I was on the practice tee with a mate of mine, Ian Hood from Sydney, and the draw came out. I looked at the draw and I said, Hoodie, every single good player is in the other half of the draw. It was the most bizarre draw you'd ever seen. It was just, we ought to just how the numbers fell, but Peter Senior, Gresham, Peter Sweeney, Chris Benithan, Colin Kay, Phil Wood, Gresham, were all on the other side of the draw, and they all knocked each other out. And on my side, I played Doug Perry, who was a good player from Victoria, Bob Stevens, who was an old guy, who I thought he was old, who'd been in the winning Eisenhower Cup team with Devlin in 1958. Elliot Booth, who was a good player, really good player in the semi. A guy called Glenn Coggle, who caddied for Norman when he won that Westgates Classic. And they were good players, but all the stars were in the top half of the draw. So as they all knocked themselves out, I kind of fumbled my way through the bottom half and played Gresham in the final. Who was the best player? He was defending champion and the best player in the country at the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of flicked him. I beat him one up. I had a flick he shot out of the trees from over the back of the 16th hole and stayed one up and beat him one up. But yeah, it was a bizarre draw, really.
So nowadays, you'd win an amateur and you'd probably go pretty quickly into the professional ranks, but that was still a couple of years away. You went back, you won another Vic Amateur, and then you did turn professional. And ironically, your first victory was again in Victoria in the Vic Open.
Yeah, which was not long after I turned pro in September of '81, and I played no good at all until I made the cut at Tweed Heads with Aussie Moore caddying for me, and which got you in the Australian Open. And I finished 9th in the Open there. I made $3,000, which was a fortune. Couldn't believe it. And then I came to New Zealand. I finished 10th at Tauranga, 12th at Titirangi, and then 28th in the New Zealand Open at Heratonga. So I made the top 60, which meant I was exempt, which was important. So then I played well in South Australia, played terribly in the Tasmanian Open the next week. I made a hole-in-one on the last hole of the tournament. But I got a swing thought on that was bizarre on the 15th hole. I thought, I'll try this. I had 2 great shots up 15, 3 great shots down 16, par 5, 2 great shots into 17, and ripped this 4-iron. I just ripped this 4-iron at 18, Tasmania. Went in the hole, won $5,000. I shot 76. That's how shit I was playing.
What was the winner's purse?
He made 6,400, Colin Bishop. So I go to the presentation. I'm sitting with Jack Newton, Stuart Ginn, and someone else who tied for second. And they got just over $2,000 each. And Jack looked at me and said, "You lucky prick." He said, "You hit one decent shot and make $5,000. I play my ass out all week and make 2.5." So anyway, I went to the Vic Open the next week, and the swing thought was, I thought I'd found the secret to golf. And it lasted another week, pretty much.
Right.
I made another hole-in-one at 13, made $20,000 playing with Trevino, and then won the tournament. So I made $43,000 in a week, which was just crazy. I mean, how was I 6 weeks removed from thinking $3,000 was a fortune to making $43,000 with 2 holes in one? So that was kind of pretty crazy start, really.
So just say you were playing with Lee Trevino.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those players used to come down to Australasia during those years?
Yeah, the Vic Open was a great tournament. I mean, Norman played, Marshy, Shearer, Newton was obviously there, Torino. So that was the formula that Tony Charlton came up with when he ran the tournament, and he would pay one superstar every year to come out. So he started that off with Johnny Miller in 77, then Palmer in 78, player, who I played with. I was in 79. I got drawn the first 2 rounds with him. Then I think Curtis Strange and Clampett maybe came the next year, then Stadler, and then Trevino came for a couple of years. So it was a great tournament in that time, amazing tournament, really.
I spoke to Paul Devonport earlier this week, and he spoke about playing with Ray Floyd in the 93 Australian Open at Metropolitan.
Yeah, he was there, yep.
He said he had to stop himself from just watching Floyd play golf and check himself and say, "Hey, I'm here to play golf as well." He said such was Ray Floyd's ball striking ability. He said it was absolutely just unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember Steve Williams was caddying for him then. Yeah, it was Metro. So Floyd was obviously a great player. I remember one thing he said about the course. He said, "I love this course." He said, "Every fairway bunker you get into, all the perfect depth." He said, "You can get on the green with a perfect shot. If you miss it by 2 inches, you hit the lip."
Right.
And they've changed the fairway bunkers at Metro quite a bit since then. But he was right. I mean, every bunker was just at that height where if you had a 9-iron shot, you had to do a perfect 9-iron trajectory. If you got in the long bunkers at 15 or the first, you could get out with a 4-iron, but you had to just nail it. They were perfect heights, the fairway bunkers then.